Hey guys, Kelly here with a video on some area formulae for you guys to use throughout this unit. So it's really important that you put these into your exercise book because you'll be referring back to them throughout the next couple of weeks. So when we talk about area, the units are always in whatever the unit, the measurement unit is. So millimeters, centimeters, inches, hectares, squared. And we'll go through that a little bit more in class. Okay, so squares, rectangles, and triangles are first up. So if we have a look at the square over in the top left-hand corner, you can see here that down the side we've got 9 units. And across the bottom, or the length, we've got 9 units as well. So when we look at squares, if instead of numbers, if we just put S, we're going to have S multiplied by S. And that's how we work at the area, which is just the space inside this shape. So we're going to have S multiplied by S. Anything multiplied by itself is just going to be squared. So, which is where I guess the word squared comes from. So S squared is the general formula for a square. So we can apply that same principle to a rectangle, and you'll see here we've got again 9 units for the height or the width of this rectangle and 18 units along the bottom there. So another way of saying this is we have 18 lots of 9. So we've got a lot of 9, another lot of 9, third lot of 9, so on. So instead of counting all these individual squares, we can just multiply these, which is what lots of is. So when we look at a rectangle, the formula for that is just going to be the length multiplied by the width. If we write that shorthand, that can just be LW. Okay, but no cricket here. So when we look at a triangle, again, we're going to take the same principle from the squares and the rectangles. And what you can see here, hopefully, is that if this was a rectangle here, we would have, again, the length multiplied by the width, and we've kind of chopped that in half, and that's how we've got that triangle there. So for a triangle, you're going to have half of the length multiplied by the width, or that's also going to look like we can use B instead of L, which is the base of the triangle, multiplied by the height instead of the width, so it's H instead of W, divided by 2. So we're just chopping that rectangle in half. Okay, so next up is circles and sectors. So circles, you may have already seen this formula up here. This is for the circumference of a circle, which is a fancy name for the perimeter of a circle. When we're looking at the area, we're going to be using pi again, and it's going to be r squared, or we also have pi d, which is the diameter, which is just 2 times the radius. Good way to remember the difference between these two is that this has an r squared in it. And again, when we're looking at the units for area, we're talking about the units squared. So pi r squared is the area of a circle. Then we can look at a sector here, which is kind of like a chunk of a circle. And so because it's a chunk, we're also looking at a fraction of a circle. So a fraction of, we've got this fancy Greek letter here, which is theta. So we're going to work out that fraction. So theta divided by 360, which is how many degrees there are in a circle, multiplied by that whole circle, which is pi r squared. And that's how we get that fraction, or the percentage of that whole instead. Okay, then we got surface area of prisms. Prisms is just this 3D shape that we have. We have several different types of them. And to work out the total surface area, we just add the different surface areas together. So a pretty standard one that you'll come across is a rectangular prism, which is the one on the left here. And so you can see we've got 2 of each different faces in here. So we've got 2 ends, we've got a top and a bottom which are going to be the same, and the 2 sides. So the other side you can't actually see. So we're going to have 2 multiplied by A1 plus 2 multiplied by A2 plus 2 multiplied by a 3. And another way we can work that out is going to be 2 multiplied by HW, which is A1, plus 2 multiplied by by LW plus 2 multiplied by multiplied by HL, which is A3 in there. So you're just adding all the different faces together. Then we also have a cylinder in here. So A1, these are just 2 multiplied by pi r squared. We've got 2 circles in there, which are the 2 ends of this cylinder. And then if we look at this rectangle that's in the middle here, it's going to be multiplied by h, which is the width of it, so think about a rectangle. And the length is actually going to be equal to the circumference of this circle here. So if you cut this circle out and rolled it out, it would be the same length as the middle part of the cylinder. So the length in here is actually equal to 2 pi r, which is the circumference of a circle. So we can plug that into here. So 2 pi r multiplied by the height, and that's that middle bit of that cylinder in there. Okay, the last ones, cones, pyramids, and spheres. So if we cut this cone down the side of it and opened it out, it would look something like this. So we look at the area of A1, which is a sector. So it's going to be theta divided by 360 multiplied by pi r squared, plus A2, which is just the area of a circle, so pi r squared. That's for a cone. Okay, and then with a pyramid, so this is a square base pyramid, so this is just going to be s squared, which is the square in the middle, A1, and then the area of A2, so we've got 4 of these triangles, so it's going to be 4 base multiplied by height divided by 2, which will cancel out these 2. So it's going to be s squared plus 2 base times height in there. I won't go into detail about how we work out the surface area of a sphere. You just need to know the formula, which is 4 pi r squared. All right, catch you in class, guys.